scent of wild wolf fur and forest roses hung thick in the air, a ritual blend meant to steady our nerves before the ceremony. But it did nothing for me. I stood in line with the other Omega candidates, palms slick with sweat, my heartbeat pounding against my ribs like war drums, the grand hall of the Northern Pack stretching ahead. Its ancient wooden beams draped in silver chains and pale flowers, symbols of purity and binding. Outside, a late autumn storm thrashed against the stained glass windows, each pane depicting the first shifters stepping from moonlight. "Stand tall, Zaira," my mother whispered urgently, tugging at the fabric of my ceremonial gown. "At least look like you belong." I straightened my shoulders, though I knew nothing could mask what set me apart from the 20 other Omegas lined before me. Where they were willowy and precise, I was soft-rounded, my silver silk dress designed to accentuate curves, strained at the seams despite being custom-made. The seamstress had pressed her lips together during every fitting as if my shape offended her very craft. "Remember what Silas taught us?" I murmured to myself, brushing my fingers over the hidden silver pendant beneath my gown, a crescent moon entwined with amber. My grandmother, the pack's healer, had been revered for her unorthodox ways. Our worth is measured not by their eyes, but by the courage in our hearts. The murmurs of the crowd swelled, and I felt their gazes like fingers pressing against me, some pitying, others sharp with judgment. A few mothers had protested my presence in the ceremony, calling it improper a waste. Only my lineage as healers had secured me a place, though all, including myself, knew it was token formality. No alpha would choose the fat Omega among such perfect specimens of pack beauty. The ceremonial drums began a slow, hypnotic cadence. I lifted my gaze toward the main doors, awaiting Kaylin's arrival. The forest pack was strong, their bloodlines ancient and untarnished. The alliance through marriage would protect our struggling northern pack beset by disease and human encroachment. "He won't even look at her," someone muttered nearby. "Hush," another hissed. "She may be last, but her blood carries power." I swallowed, eyes fixed on the polished stone floor. The drums rose louder, and the heavy doors swung open. A collective breath drew through the room. Kaylin entered, flanked by his closest alphas, each expression carved from stone, commanding presence unquestioned. But it was the king who drew every eye. Taller than the others, his aura swallowed light. Dark hair fell to his shoulders, framing a face chiseled from shadow and fire. High cheekbones, a strong jaw, shadowed with stubble eyes of molten gold, sweeping the assembly with predatory force. His gaze traveled the line of Omegas, and I felt the longing, the tension from every woman present. This was more than politics or alliances. It was primal attraction. Even from the back of the line, I sensed his power, the dominance in his scent, making my knees tremble despite my determination to remain composed. The ceremony commenced. Each Omega stepped forward when called, bowing formally, offering herself to the king. He nodded at each in turn, moving down the line. Tradition dictated that after all candidates had presented, he would choose the one deemed worthy, the most beautiful, most fertile, most fit to carry the next generation of Lycan royalty. My pulse raced as the line thinned. Neren glided forward, ebony hair falling like a veil. Ivara's voice sang as she moved with dancer's grace. Leora, intelligent and poised, carried the weight of 3 generations of diplomacy in her posture. Each embodied an ideal I could never reach. Only 3 remained before me. Then something shifted. Kaylin faltered in his nods, distracted. Nostrils flaring, he turned fractionally toward the end of the line toward me. My breath caught. Surely it was my imagination. But when Soren, the golden-haired favorite, stepped forward, his gaze bypassed her entirely. Instead, it fixed on me. Legs shaking, I stepped forward, executing the ceremonial bow, eyes lowered as demanded. "Zara of the Northern Pack, daughter of healers, offers herself in the name of alliance and peace," I intoned, words heavy in my mouth. The silence stretched beyond propriety. I dared a glance upward. Kalen's eyes were locked on me, a gaze unreadable, somewhere between intrigue and astonishment. He circled me deliberately, every step measured, eyes never leaving my form. The hall had fallen utterly silent. I could feel the shock ripple through the crowd, unspoken questions pressing against the air breaths, held tight by hundreds of onlookers. Then Kalen returned to the center of the ceremonial circle. According to tradition, he would now re-examine each candidate before making his decision. But instead he lifted his hand, and even the ceremonial drums fell quiet. His voice rolled through the hall like a storm breaking over mountains deep, commanding, resonating through my chest. I make my choice now. Murmurs of disbelief rippled across the assembly. This wasn't how the ceremony was supposed to unfold. Vera gripped my arm nails, digging in, whether in warning or anticipation, I couldn't tell. Kalen's golden eyes swept the line of the beautiful Omegas once more before he spoke words that shattered the expected order. "I want the fat one," he declared, pointing directly at me. "Her Zera of the Northern Pack." Gasps echoed through the hall. A ceremonial goblet clattered to the floor. The metallic clang sounded almost comical amid the stunned silence. Vira's grip loosened, then released completely. I stood frozen, heart hammering. I was certain I had misheard, but Kalen was already striding toward me, expression unreadable, stopping inches away, close enough that the scent of him, pine after rain, with a darker, muskier undertone, flooded my senses. "Do you accept?" His voice dropped private for me alone. I opened my mouth, but no sound emerged. This wasn't possible. This wasn't how things were supposed to unfold. Alpha Kings didn't choose Omegas like me. Behind him I saw his advisors exchanging anxious glances. One leaned forward to whisper in his ear, but Kalen silenced him with a sharp gesture. "I asked you a question, Omega," he said, golden eyes drilling into mine. "Do you accept my choice?" Finding my voice at last, I managed to whisper, "Why?" His lips curved into the faintest trace of a smile. "That is not the traditional response," I said before I could stop myself. "Nor was your choice very traditional, Your Majesty." A collective gasp swept through the onlookers. Yet Kalen threw back his head and laughed, a rich, startling sound that seemed to shake the rafters. Amusement danced in his eyes as he spoke. Then, loud enough for all to hear, he declared, "I choose Zera of the Northern Pack as my bride, future queen of the Forest Pack. The alliances are sealed." Before I could process it, he took my hand, skin scorching against mine, and turned us to face the assembly. The shock on their faces would have been comical in any other circumstance. Vera looked pale with disbelief. The other Omegas displayed emotions ranging from outrage to relief to incredulity. The master of ceremonies, flustered, but bound by duty, stepped forward. The choice had been made. It was declared. Kalen of the Forest Pack takes Zera of the Northern Pack as his mate. May the Moon Mother bless this union and the alliance it brings. Tradition dictated he now lead me in the first steps of the bonding dance. Instead, he leaned down, lips brushing my ear. "There's much you don't understand yet, little healer," he murmured, warm breath against my skin. "But you will." Tonight, when the moon rises, he straightened, guiding me toward the ceremonial doors. The crowd parted, whispers trailing like shadows. Did he really choose her? What does this mean for the alliance? There must be a mistake. As we reached the doors, a commotion broke out behind us. A striking woman with flame-red hair, one of Kalen's advisors, argued heatedly with an elder from my pack. Their voices carried through the suddenly silent hall. "This is unprecedented," the elder hissed. "She cannot possibly fulfill the requirements of a queen." The red-haired advisor shot back just as heatedly. "You offered her as a candidate. The king has chosen. Will you break sacred law now?" Kalen's hand tightened around mine. "Ignore them," he said, voice hard as granite. "Their opinions matter not," as the doors closed behind us, sealing away the noise and chaos. I found myself alone with the most powerful alpha in the territory. Rain pounded against the antechamber windows, casting shifting shadows across his face. Why me? I asked again. Courage and confusion mingling. There were 20 other Omegas. More suitable, he said, still holding my hand. More suitable according to whom? Zaira, I blinked, caught off guard. I'm not what alphas want, I said, finally gesturing helplessly to my body. I'm not what anyone expects in a queen. His eyes narrowed and a dangerous flicker crossed his gaze. Then perhaps expectations need to change, he said, his voice soft but edged with steel. And as for what I want... He stepped closer, his scent surrounding me like smoke and pine. You have no idea what I want, Zaira. But you will. By the time we reached the king's temporary quarters in the eastern wing of our pack's stronghold, the storm outside had become savage. Rain beat against the leaded windows, thunder rolling like the growls of ancient wolf gods. 4 guards followed us in formation, their faces unreadable, despite what they had just witnessed. Leave us, Kaelin commanded as we entered the suite prepared for his stay. The guards hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances until one began, Your Majesty protocol. Leave. Each word was an order heavy with alpha authority. The men bowed sharply and withdrew, the heavy oak doors closing behind them. Silence. The truth of it all hit me at once. I was now promised to the most powerful Lycan in 3 territories. A man I had never spoken to before today. A king who had chosen me over every flawless candidate. The air felt thick, the room smaller than before. Kaelin moved to a sideboard where crystal decanters caught the firelight. Pouring amber liquid into 2 glasses, he offered one to me. To settle your nerves. I hesitated. A small, knowing smile curved his lips. It's not poison, little healer. I didn't think it was, I replied, accepting the glass. And please stop calling me that. I call things as they are, he said, watching me over the rim of his glass. You come from a bloodline of healers. Your grandmother Silas. Her name was known even among my pack. She had the gift of herbs and the old ways favored her. I took a sip, the liquor burning its way down my throat. How do you know about my grandmother? He didn't answer. Instead, he began circling me again, slowly, methodically, his gaze tracing me like he was memorizing every inch. I resisted the instinct to cross my arms over my body to hide what made me different. Do you know why the bride's ceremony exists? Zaira, he asked suddenly. For alliances between packs, I said automatically. To strengthen bloodlines. He made a dismissive sound. Those are the excuses we tell ourselves. The truth is older, more primal. He stopped in front of me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. Lycans mate for life. The wolf knows its counterpart by scent, by instinct. No alliance can override that pull. My heart skipped a beat. Are you saying I'm saying that when I stepped into that hall, I caught a scent that tore through every rule I've ever known? His voice dropped lower, rougher. It was you. Only you. The glass almost slipped from my fingers. That's impossible. I'm not... Not what? His tone sharpened. Not beautiful enough, not small enough. Do you think the wolf inside me gives a damn about human ideals of beauty? I set the glass down, my hands trembling. There must be a mistake. Maybe it was someone else's scent. There is no mistake. His words cut through my protest like a blade. You are my true mate. Zaira, the ceremony only confirmed what I already knew when your delegation visited my land's last moon cycle. My mind flashed back to that visit. I had been there, standing quietly beside my uncle, never addressing the king directly. You noticed me then? I asked, disbelief thick in my voice. I noticed everything about you. His hand rose, tracing a line along my jaw, his touch sparking across my skin. The way you watch everything. The way your scent shifts when you disagree but stay silent. How your fingers always find that pendant you wear when you're anxious. Without meaning to, I reached for Silas's pendant. His lips twitched, satisfied. Why didn't you say anything? Then politics, he said flatly, the word bitter on his tongue. The ceremony was already arranged. Breaking it would have insulted your elders and jeopardized the alliance. So I waited, knowing you'd be there. And if I hadn't been chosen, if they'd decided I wasn't, I couldn't finish. Then I would have rejected every candidate and found another way to claim you. His calm certainty hit harder than any grand confession. The wolf in me had already chosen. A knock sounded at the door. Kaelin's expression darkened instantly. Enter! Kaelin's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Enter! The red-haired advisor from before slipped inside, green eyes assessing every inch of the room before she spoke. Forgive the interruption, Your Majesty, she said smoothly. But the Northern Pack Council demands an audience. They're questioning the validity of your choice. Kaelin's response came as a low growl, the sound deep enough to rattle my bones. The advisor Ysera. I remembered, hesitated, but continued. I've told them as much, but they claim your decision defies the expectations set by the Alliance. I shrank inward, heat creeping up my neck. Of course they would object. To them, a curvy Omega could never fulfill whatever shallow image of beauty they'd promised their powerful allies. Tell them. Kaelin said, his voice low and edged with danger, that my bride was chosen by sacred law and ancient right. And remind them that questioning my choice is questioning my crown. Make it clear that while I value this alliance, I do not need it as desperately as they do. Ysera's lips twitched into a faint, satisfied smile. With pleasure, Your Majesty. She turned toward the door, but paused. And what of the celebration feast tonight? The Northern Pack is waiting. We'll attend, he said, surprising me. My bride and I will show them exactly what they're dealing with. When she left, silence filled the room again, thick and charged. I swallowed hard. You can still change your mind, I murmured. Choose someone else. No one would blame you for reconsidering. Kaelin closed the distance between us in 2 strides, his hands cupping my face, tilting it upward. His gaze burned like gold fire. Listen carefully, Zyra, because I'll only say this once. I don't want another. I want you, your mind, your spirit, your body. All of it. His thumbs brushed across my cheekbones, leaving a trail of heat. The only question is, do you want me? The directness of it stole my breath. Did I? This man, this storm of power and darkness had turned my entire world inside out within an hour. The Alpha King who looked at me, not as the forgotten one at the end of the line, but as if I carried the moon's own secrets inside me. I don't know you, I admitted softly. His expression softened, the corners of his mouth lifting. Then get to know me, starting tonight. The great hall had been transformed into a spectacle of gold and firelight. Long tables ran beneath banners of both packs, the silver wolf of the north and the black wolf of the forest. Hundreds of candles burned low, their glow flickering across polished wood. The scent of roasted meat and mulled wine filled the air. Every head turned as we entered. I wore a new gown, dark green velvet, that had appeared mysteriously in my chamber, accompanied by a note written in his unmistakable hand, for my queen. The dress didn't hide my curves. It embraced them, flowing around my form like river water instead of fighting against it as my earlier gown had. Kaelin walked beside me, his palm resting possessively at the small of my back. Though his face was calm, I could feel the restrained tension pulsing through him. The whispers followed us as we reached the high table where my parents and the pack elders waited, their expressions carefully neutral. Mother, father. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Vera's eyes were red, though whether from pride or fear I couldn't tell. Orin looked dazed, as if reality hadn't yet settled. Zara, he managed before bowing to Kaelin. Your Majesty, we are honored by your choice. That pause before choice did not go unnoticed. Kalen's hand pressed more firmly against my back. "The honor is mine," he said, his voice carrying effortlessly through the hall. "Your daughter brings strength to my line and wisdom to my counsel." From the far end of the table, Draven, the eldest council member, stepped forward. His pale eyes narrowed. An unexpected decision. "Your Majesty," he rasped, "we had assumed one of our more traditionally suitable candidates might have caught your attention." The insult was thinly veiled and gasps rippled through the room. Before Kalen could respond, I found myself speaking. "Perhaps, Elder Draven, what's traditional doesn't always make for a strong queen," I said, surprised by my own voice. "Maybe other qualities matter more." A wave of whispers spread through the hall. No one had expected me to speak, least of all me. But the pendant against my chest pulsed with warmth, as though Silas herself whispered, "Stand in your truth, child." Kalen's hand slid to my shoulder, his fingers curling in quiet approval. "My bride speaks wisely," he said at last. "Now shall we eat?" "I'd rather celebrate than debate." As we took our seats, servants swept in with silver trays. Kalen leaned closer, his breath brushing my ear. "You keep surprising me, little healer. I thought you were shy, but there's fire in you." Kalen said, his voice low, but edged with steel. Only when provoked, I replied, reaching for my wine goblet, using it to hide the flush of pleasure his words stirred. The feast moved forward with strained civility. Each course laid before us in polished silver trays, candles flickering across the high ceiling. I noticed how Kalen's gaze tracked me, predatory and precise. When I laughed at something Nyren said, a rare softness flickered across his expression. Elder Draven addressed me next, barely concealing his condescension. I felt Kalen's fingers tighten around his knife knuckles, white with tension. Midway through the meal, Thalie approached the high table. Of all my family, she had always been my staunchest ally. She curtsied deeply before presenting a small wooden box to Kalen. "A token from the bride's family," she announced, glancing nervously at me. "Tradition dictated that gifts be offered to honor the union." Kalen accepted, opening it carefully. Inside rested a silver brooch, shaped like two intertwined wolves, one large, one small, their eyes set with amber stones. "It belonged to Silas Thalie," explained softly, Zyra's grandmother. "Protection and fertility for the union," she added. Kalen's eyes flickered with recognition. He held the brooch to the candlelight before pinning it to his formal jacket directly over his heart. "The gift is accepted with gratitude," he said formally. "Its meaning and lineage will be honored." Around us, other eyes watched, not merely curious or judgmental, but calculating. Politics never rested, even during celebration. From a lower table, I noticed a tall, lean man with ice-blue eyes studying us. When his gaze met mine, he didn't look away. Instead, he lifted his goblet in a mock toast. Lips curved in a cold smile. "Who is that?" I asked Ysera, seated beside me. "Cain." She whispered, her expression hardening. "The king's cousin. Don't be fooled by charm. He has ambitions, complicated by your union." "Complicated how?" I asked quietly. She leaned closer, voice low. "He hoped the king would choose an Omega, more pliable, someone beautiful, but weak-willed, easy to sway. You don't fit that mold." Oddly, I felt flattered. A genuine smile touched Ysera's lips. As the evening unfolded, tension softened. Wine flowed freely, and the musicians began traditional pack melodies. Following custom, the chosen bride and her alpha would perform the first dance, symbolizing the union. When the music shifted to the ancient bonding melody, Kalen extended his hand. "Shall we show them what true compatibility looks like?" His golden eyes glinted, challenging me. I placed my hand in his, letting him lead me to the center of the hall. Guests formed a circle around us, expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed skepticism. "I don't know the steps," I whispered in panic. "Follow my lead," he replied, one hand at my waist. "Trust your instincts. Trust me." The music swelled. I expected awkwardness, stumbles the fat omshiga out of place among graceful dancers. Instead, I moved fluidly as though I had danced 100 times before. Kaelin guided me with subtle strength, supporting without controlling. With every turn, every glide, we fell into perfect synchronicity. Whispers faded, replaced by something primal, stirring between us, a bond beyond appearance, beyond politics. When he lifted me in the ceremonial, hands firm and confident at my waist, I felt weightless. The dance ended with our foreheads touching, breaths mingling. "You feel it, don't you?" he murmured, his voice meant only for me. I could not deny it, the pull as real as gravity itself. "Yes," I whispered, surprising even myself. The celebration carried on late into the night. Tradition dictated I would not yet move to Kaelin's quarters. The official mating would occur after 3 days of courting, a time for preparation and confirmation of compatibility before the irrevocable bond. When the feast finally concluded, Kaelin escorted me back to my family's quarters, silent strength radiating from him with each step. At my door, Kaelin lifted my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles that sent shivers all the way up my arm. "Tomorrow," he murmured, "I'll show you something. Be ready at dawn." With that cryptic promise, he departed, leaving me to face my family alone. I entered our quarters to find Vera and Oren waiting, a concern etched deep into their faces. Vera began reaching for my hands. "Are you truly all right?" "We never expected him to choose me," I finished for her, a subtle edge of bitterness in my voice. "Neither did I. But he did. And I've accepted." Oren paced near the hearth, brow furrowed. "This changes everything, the responsibilities of a queen." "You never thought I'd need preparation," I said softly, letting the weight of truth hang between us. "Zyra, we only meant," Vera started. "I know what you meant," I interrupted. "You assumed I'd make a suitable match with someone kind, but unremarkable. Someone who would accept me despite my size. Not a king. Never a king." Silence confirmed my words. I touched Silas's pendant, drawing strength from her presence across time, the one person who had always seen beyond appearances. "He says I'm his true mate," I told them, that he recognized it from my scent. Oren and Vera exchanged startled glances. True mates were so rare, they seemed mythic, the stuff of ancient tales, rather than modern reality. "If that's true," Oren said slowly, "no one can object to this match," Vera finished. "Not even the elders." I nodded. "Tomorrow he wants to show me something," I added. "I don't know what, but it feels important." That night's sleep eluded me. I lay awake replaying every moment with Kaelin, the golden intensity in his eyes, the heat of his touch, the resonance of his voice when he declared me his choice. Could it really be possible that this powerful alpha had recognized something in me I hadn't seen in myself? Dawn arrived with gentle fingers of light stretching across my bedroom floor. I dressed in practical clothes, sturdy leggings, a loose tunic, soft leather boots, anticipating whatever journey Kaelin had planned. I braided my pale blonde hair back and tucked Silas's pendant safely beneath my tunic. Kaelin was waiting at the Northern Pack's main entrance, dressed in dark leggings and a simple shirt that barely contained his powerful frame. The morning light carved sharp relief across his features, highlighting the strength of his jaw and the surprising softness of his mouth. "You came," he said, a hint of relief in his voice. "Did you think I wouldn't?" I asked, the corner of my mouth twitching. "I've learned never to take anything for granted with you, little healer." Before I could protest the nickname, he extended his hand. "Come. What I want to show you requires a journey." We slipped past drowsy guards and into the forest surrounding the Northern Pack's territory. The storm from the night before had passed, leaving the world washed clean, colors vibrant, and scents sharp in the morning air. Kaelin moved with effortless grace through the underbrush, guided by some internal compass. Where are we going? I asked after nearly an hour of comfortable silence. To a place your grandmother showed me once, he replied, sweeping aside a low-hanging branch. I froze. Your grandmother, you knew her personally. Kalen's expression softened, memory flickering across his eyes. I met her when I was barely more than a pup. Your father brought me to these territories during a time of unrest. I was injured in an attack meant for him. His fingers brushed his side absently. Your grandmother treated me. She saved your life, I asked, astonished. With her herbs and knowledge of the old ways, yes. She promised my father secrecy. She promised The attack was political. Anyone knowing of my presence could have endangered both our packs. He resumed walking slower, now deliberate. But during my recovery, she often spoke of her clever granddaughter who had inherited her gift for healing. She was very proud of you, Zaira, he added. My throat tightened. I had been 12 when Silas died, but her influence had shaped every part of my life. I'm not the healer she hoped I'd become, I admitted. I know some herbs, some remedies, but not enough. Perhaps you haven't found your true path yet, he suggested. Your grandmother believed your gift would manifest in its own time, in its own way. We continued deeper into the forest trees, growing older, their canopies thickening as if guiding our steps towards something ancient and powerful. The air shifted subtly, carrying a whisper of something ancient and potent. At last we stepped into a small clearing, centered around a perfectly round pool fed by a gentle waterfall. Steam rose from the water, curling in the cool morning air, the moon spring. I breathed, recognizing the sacred place from Silas's stories. I thought it was just legend, Kalen said, his tone solemn. Few remember its location. Your grandmother was its keeper for many years. Before she died, she showed it to me, saying that one day I might need to bring someone here. His golden eyes met mine. I believe she meant you. I approached the pool cautiously. The water glowed with a soft blue light, tiny symbols etched into the stones at its edge, ancient Lycan script, predating modern language. What does it mean? I asked, fingers hovering over the markings. They tell the original story of our kind, Kalen said, kneeling beside me. How the first Lycans weren't born of curse or bite as humans believe, but through sacred union with the spiritual world. His finger traced one symbol. This represents balance, the harmony between our human form and wolf nature. And this one, I pointed to a curving symbol beside it. The true mate bond, he said, voice dropping. The rarest, strongest connection between Lycans. A bond not only of body, but of spirit and purpose. I swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how close he was, the heat radiating from him. Is that truly what you believe we have? I asked. Instead of answering, Kalen gestured to the pool. The moon spring reveals truth. When true mates gaze into its waters together, they see the same vision of their shared future. He held out his hand. Are you brave enough to look? Part of me wanted to retreat into the comfort of doubt and low expectations. What if we saw nothing? What if this connection I felt was just wishful thinking? But another part, carrying Silas's blood and wisdom, urged me forward. I placed my hand in his. Yes. Together we leaned over the glowing waters. At first only our reflections stared back. His powerful frame beside my softer one, faces side by side. Then the water rippled, though no wind stirred the clearing. Images formed beneath the surface, blurry at first, then sharpening. I saw Kalen and me standing before a vast gathering of Lycans from different packs, faces turned toward us with hope and reverence. I saw us running through moonlit forests in wolf form. His massive black wolf, and beside him, not my small gray wolf, but a white wolf with unusual markings, powerful and swift. I saw us poring over ancient texts, working together to decipher something crucial. And most startling, I saw myself with a swollen belly. Kalen's hands pressed protectively against it. His face transformed with wonder and fierce joy. The visions faded. The water stilled, reflecting only our faces once more. I looked up at Kalen. What did you see? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. I saw exactly the same visions, he said, exhaling slowly. It's true. We are true mates. As I knew from the moment I caught your scent. But why me? I asked the question, lingering. Out of all Omegas, why would fate bind me to someone like him? Kaelin frowned. Someone like you. You mean intelligent, compassionate, strong healing in her bloodline and courage in her heart? Or do you mean someone whose body doesn't fit arbitrary standards set by those without vision? Put that way, my insecurities feel smaller, I admitted quietly. I've spent my life overlooked because of my size. It's hard to believe the most powerful alpha in 3 territories could see past it. I don't see past it, Kaelin said, surprising me. I see all of you, Zyra. Your body is part of who you are, not a flaw to ignore, nor your defining feature. His thumb traced my lower lip. You are whole, complex, beautiful, and you are mine as I am yours. The simplicity of his words cracked open something in me, a wall I had built to protect my heart. Before doubt could creep in, I leaned forward, pressing my lips to his. Kaelin froze for a heartbeat, clearly caught off guard. His hand slid into my hair, cradling my head as he deepened the kiss. Heat bloomed between us, raw and consuming. When we finally broke apart, his eyes had darkened to burnished bronze pupils wide. If we don't stop now, he said, voice ragged, breath heavy, the 3 days of courtship tradition will be severely compromised, I laughed, feeling surprisingly light despite the intensity pressing down on us. And what would the pack say to that? Kaelin growled, pressing his forehead against mine. I care less about their opinions with every passing hour, he murmured. But you deserve the full courtship. You deserve to be honored properly as my chosen mate. We lingered at the moon spring as he spoke of Silas, my grandmother, how she had taught him the old ways during his recovery, recognizing in him something others had missed even as a pup. She said you carry the blood of the first alpha, Kaelin explained. Your path won't be easy, but it will be necessary for our kind. Necessary, how I asked, trailing my fingers through the glowing water. His expression darkened distant. There are changes coming, Zyra. Threats to our way of life that demand new thinking, new alliances. He looked at me with intent. The visions. They show us working together, uncovering old knowledge. I believe that is part of our purpose, to protect the future of all packs. I shivered at the weight of his words. This was bigger than our unexpected pairing. We were being called to something that could shape the fate of every Lycan pack. Is that why you sought an alliance with the Northern Pack? I asked, not just for territory or strength, but because of what Silas told you. Kaelin nodded slowly. She said that when the time came you would provide what we need. I thought she meant access to your pack's ancient library. Now I know she meant you. The sun climbed higher as we returned to the settlement. The clearing buzzed with activity preparations for the 3-day courtship underway. Each day represented a facet of the mating bond, mind, heart, and body. The first day focused on intellectual compatibility, the second on emotional connection, and the third on physical harmony, before the final mating ceremony. Word of our morning disappearance had caused quite a stir. Elder Draven intercepted us immediately, thin face pinched with disapproval. It is most irregular for the betrothed pair to vanish without escorts, he said, eyes narrowing on me. The courtship rituals must be observed properly. They will be, Kaelin replied coolly. I merely wish to show my bride a place of significance to her family. Or would you presume to dictate the movements of your king? Elder. Draven faltered, though resentment simmered in his pale eyes. Of course not, Your Majesty. I only seek to ensure traditions are respected, he said. Your concern is noted, Kaelin said, dismissing him with a glance, then softened as he turned to me. The mind bond ceremony begins at midday. Until then, you should rest and prepare. As I turned to leave, I spotted Riven, Kaelin's ambitious cousin, watching from the shadows of a nearby building. Our eyes met briefly before he melted into the crowd, leaving a chill in his wake. I spent the morning with Vera and Thalie, who helped me ready myself for the mind bond ceremony. Tradition required the Omega to display wisdom, knowledge, and quick-thinking traits that would complement an Alpha's strength and decisiveness. "You were always the clever one," Thalie said as she arranged my hair. "Far more than those stick-figure Omegas who care more about appearance than thought." Vera admonished, though I caught the faintest smile. My family had rallied swiftly, their initial shock now transformed into pride. The ceremony took place in the Pax library, a circular room of towering shelves filled with ancient texts and scrolls. Elders from both Pax sat in a circle ready to witness and judge our compatibility. At the center stood a stone table inlaid with a labyrinthine pattern. Kalen waited there, formally dressed, yet simple dark trousers and a tunic embroidered with his Pax symbols. His gaze softened when it found me in a blue gown, reminiscent of the moon spring waters. Elder Draven, acting as ceremony master, explained the challenge. "Before you lies the puzzle of paths, an ancient test requiring strategy and intuition. Together, you must navigate the labyrinth, moving these stone markers to form an unbroken path from start to finish. Speak not of the puzzle itself." I studied the spiral pattern carved into the table moonstone and obsidian markers at various points. The challenge was subtle coordination, without words, relying on bond and mutual understanding. "Begin," Elder Draven commanded. Kalen gestured for me to make the first move. I examined the pattern, recognizing symbols reminiscent of those at the moon spring, and moved a moonstone marker toward the central spiral. Kalen's eyes brightened with understanding. He moved an obsidian marker to complement mine, forming the beginning of a path. We continued this intricate dance of strategy, pausing occasionally to read each other's expressions, moving at times with confident synchronicity. When I faltered at a particularly tricky junction, Kalen's fingers brushed mine briefly, not directing, just offering reassurance. Moments later, I found the solution sliding 2 pieces in quick succession. The elders murmured as the pattern took shape, forming not merely a path, but an elegant design, echoing an ancient Lycan symbol for unity. With a final move from Kalen, the path is complete. "Extraordinary," whispered one of the Forest Pack elders. "I have never seen the pattern resolved this way," Elder Draven said, lips tightening, clearly frustrated that he could find no fault. "The mind bond is proven," he declared formally. "You may proceed to tomorrow's heart bond ceremony." As we left the library, Ysera approached, her expression tense. "There's been an incident," she said quietly. "One of our guards was attacked at the territory boundary. He swears it was a northern wolf." Tension rippled immediately through the nearby pack members, who overheard. Border disputes had long strained relations between our packs. "Take me to him," Kalen commanded, his expression hardening into the authoritative Alpha I had glimpsed during the bride's ceremony. In the healing quarters, we found a young guard, claw marks deep across his chest. The wounds were serious, though not life-threatening. Kalen knelt beside him, voice firm but gentle. "Tell me exactly what happened, Kalen," he asked. The guard winced as a poultice was applied. "I was patrolling the eastern ridge when I caught an unfamiliar scent. Before I could investigate, something slammed into me from behind." His eyes flickered toward the northern wolves present. It was a wolf with northern markings, gray with a white chest. Murmurs rose among the gathered pack. "Did you see the attacker's human form?" I asked, stepping closer. "No. They fled immediately after the attack, but it was definitely a northern wolf. Or someone trying to appear as one." I suggested it might be deliberate, earning surprised glances. Kalen's eyes met mine, a spark of approval in his golden gaze. "A reasonable consideration. This attack is convenient timing for anyone opposing the alliance," he agreed. The Northern Pack's war chief, a grizzled alpha named Terran, bristled. You accuse us of attacking our own allies. Not your pack officially, Kalen clarified, but perhaps individuals with their own agendas. This incident could ignite conflict if unchecked. I noticed Riven at the edge of the crowd, expression unreadable, observing the tension. When he caught me looking, his lips curved into that same empty smile from the feast. Kalen straightened, addressing both packs with authority. Until we identify the attacker, border security will be doubled. I want mixed patrols, wolves from both packs working together. He turned to Taran. Can I count on your cooperation, War Chief? The older wolf hesitated, then nodded stiffly. As you wish, Your Majesty. As the crowd dispersed, Kalen drew me aside. You saw something others missed, he said quietly. The timing is too perfect, I replied. An attack just as our packs begin to unite. It feels orchestrated. His hand found mine, squeezing gently. My clever mate, keep your eyes open. Someone doesn't want this alliance to succeed, and they may target you next. The rest of the day passed under heightened vigilance. Guards from both packs patrolled the settlement perimeter, unease taut in the air. I spent the evening with Ysera, who proved not only Kalen's advisor, but his most trusted confidant. He's different with you, she observed as we walked the perimeter. More centered, more himself. You've known him long, I asked. Since we were pups, she confirmed. My mother was his nurse after the queen died. I've seen him wear many faces, the dutiful son, the strategic prince, the unyielding king. But with you, she smiled. He's simply Kalen. Did you know? I asked, curiosity prying. About his belief that you're his true mate? Ysera's expression turned serious. He confided in me after your pack's diplomatic visit. I'd never seen Kalen so certain of anything. He studied me carefully. The question is, do you believe it? The memory of our shared visions at the moon, spring rose vividly in my mind. I'm beginning to, I admitted. Night draped a blanket of stars across the sky. Unable to sleep, I slipped from my chambers and wandered into the settlement's small garden, hoping the cool air might clear my racing thoughts. The past 2 days felt surreal, the bride's ceremony, Kalen's shocking choice, the moon-spring visions, and now this mysterious attack threatening our fragile alliance. I didn't notice the figure stepping from the shadows until a voice cut through the quiet. The future queen, wandering alone at night, quite reckless, considering recent events. I spun around to find Riven standing a few paces away, his ice-blue eyes reflecting moonlight. Unlike before, there was no trace of warmth in his expression. I'm within the settlement boundaries, I replied, voice steady despite the tension. He moved closer, fluid and predatory. Boundaries can be breached. Guards distracted as today's incident proved. Something in his tone set my nerves alight. I stepped back, suddenly aware of how isolated the garden was at this hour. What do you want? Riven, I asked. He circled me slowly, reminding me uncomfortably of a wolf stalking prey. I'm curious about the woman who so unexpectedly captured my cousin's attention. The woman who might now stand between me and what I deserve. And what exactly do you think you deserve? I challenged, scanning the garden for escape routes. He stopped, eyes piercing. I am next in line after Kalen, or I was, until he chose a mate who could bear heirs. Understanding dawned. That attack on the guard, that was you. His smile was cold, a calculated move to sow discord. The northern and forest packs carried generations of mistrust. It wouldn't take much to reignite old hatreds and break the alliance, I said. Leaving Kalen vulnerable, clever girl, Riven sneered, stepping closer. Unfortunately, you're becoming a problem rather than a solution. I hoped he'd choose a more traditional Omega, someone obedient, easily eliminated if necessary. Fear surged through me, but with it came anger. You severely underestimate your cousin if you think he would choose a mate based on expectations. Perhaps he admitted, but I underestimated you as well. His hand shot out fingers, closing around my throat, the fat Omega with unexpected courage, the true mate who appeared to unravel years of careful planning. I clawed at his hand, struggling to breathe, as he lifted me, slightly off the ground, blackness creeping at the edges of my vision. "Nothing personal," he whispered, "but your death at Northern hands will ensure this alliance collapses spectacularly, and in his grief and rage, Kalen will make mistakes. Fatal ones." As consciousness faltered, my fingers found Silas's pendant. The amber stone pulsed burning hot against my skin. Without thought, I pressed it against Riven's wrist. He howled, releasing me as fire seared his flesh. I collapsed to the ground, gasping for air as he staggered back, clutching his scorched wrist. His eyes shifted to wolf gold fangs, elongating with rage. I scrambled backward, knowing I couldn't outrun him if he fully shifted. My throat burned, screaming impossible. Then a massive shadow slammed into Riven, sending him crashing into a stone bench. Kalen stood between us, vibrating with barely contained fury, partially shifted into his wolf form. Claws extended, fangs bared, eyes blazing gold. "Touch her again," he growled, voice distorted by his elongated jaw. "And I will tear you apart piece by piece." Riven hissed, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. Despite being outmatched, madness gleamed in his eyes. "She's ruined everything," he spat. A worthless fat Omega, who Kalen moved with blinding speed, lifting Riven by the throat as he had done to me. "She is your queen," he snarled, "and the last words you speak of her will decide whether you live or die." Guards arrived, alerted by the commotion. Ysera among them, face hardening as she assessed the scene. "Take him," Kalen ordered, throwing Riven to the ground. He confessed to attacking the queen and orchestrating the border incident. He will face pack justice at dawn. As Riven was dragged away, spitting threats, Kalen's features shifted gradually back to human fury, giving way to concern. "Zyra," Kalen whispered, kneeling beside me. Gentle fingers traced the forming bruises along my throat. "I almost lost you." "How did you know?" I rasped. "I felt your fear," he said simply, voice low through our bond. "It pulled me from sleep, drew me here." His eyes darkened with self-reproach. I should have anticipated Riven's jealousy turning violent. Ysera approached cautiously. "The heart bond ceremony is tomorrow," she reminded Kalen. "This attack, it changes things." Kalen helped me to my feet, arm supporting me protectively. "Yes," he agreed. "It changes everything. There will be no more waiting, no more ceremonies. Tonight I claim my mate fully with both packs as witnesses." "The elders won't approve breaking tradition," Ysera warned. "They can witness or leave," Kalen replied, voice brooking no argument. "I will not risk Zyra's safety again. Our bond will be completed tonight." Word spread swiftly through both packs. Despite the late hour, Lycans gathered in the ceremonial clearing where generations ago the first alpha pairs had formed their bonds beneath the open sky. Torches cast flickering light across expectant faces. My family arrived. Vera pale with worry, seeing the bruises on my neck. "Are you certain?" she asked softly. "This is happening so quickly." I touched Silas's pendant, warm against my skin. "I'm certain," I said. "This is my path." Elder Draven protested loudly against the break in tradition, but was outnumbered. Even the most conservative elders had been shaken by Riven's treachery, and now viewed our swift union as necessary for pack security under the silver glow of the waxing moon. Kalen and I faced each other in the center of the clearing. The traditional mating ceremony was brief, but potent vows exchanged, blood mingled, and the alpha's claim made before witnesses. Kalen took my hands in his golden eyes, reflecting torchlight. Under moon and stars, before all witnesses. "I choose you, Zyra of the Northern Pack. Not for alliance, not for politics, but for the truth that beats between us." His thumb brushed my knuckles. "You are my balance, my wisdom, my heart. Where I am fire, you are water. Where I am strength, you are healing. Together we are whole. The ancient words flowed through me as if always known. Under moon and stars I accept your choice, Kaelin of the Forest Pack. I offer not submission, but partnership. Not obedience, but counsel. Not weakness, but a different strength. My voice strengthened, despite my injured throat. Where you lead with power, I will lead with compassion. Where you protect with force, I will protect with wisdom. Together we are whole. Ysera stepped forward with the ceremonial blade. Following tradition, Kaelin made a shallow cut across his palm, then mine. We pressed our bleeding hands together, sealing the bond with blood. By blood and choice, by moon and witness. Kaelin declared, voice carrying across the silent clearing. I claim Zaira as my mate, my queen, my equal. Let any who oppose this union face me as enemy. A ripple of energy surged through the assembled Lycans, acknowledging the rare joining of true mates. Kaelin pulled me into his arms, sealing our vows with a kiss that sent heat coursing through my veins. The bond flared to life, a golden thread connecting mind, heart, and soul. Through it, I felt his fierce joy, his relief, his love, emotions so intense they brought tears to my eyes. As we knelt together, not out of mere ceremony, but genuine respect, even Elder Draven bowed his head, awe replacing his usual disapproval. The white wolf returns, someone whispered. I looked at Kaelin questioningly. An ancient prophecy, he explained softly. When the black wolf finds his true mate in the white healer, old enemies will become allies, and our kind will enter a new age of strength. The significance of our union extended beyond us, beyond our packs. The visions at the Moonspring now made sense. This wasn't just about two individuals, it was a turning point for all Lycan kind. 3 months later, spring had brought new life to the Forest Pack territories. Wildflowers carpeted the clearings around the pack house, and birdsong filled the air. From our chamber balcony, I watched Lycan children from both packs playing together in the meadow, a sight impossible before our union. The northern delegation has arrived, Kaelin said, joining me at the railing, arms wrapped around me, hand resting protectively over my slightly rounded belly. Your parents send their love. I leaned back against his chest, savoring his warmth, feeling the promise of a future forged together. Among the Eastern Pack representatives, cautious yet curious, Kaelin pressed a kiss to my temple. Word has spread about the prophecy concerning us, he murmured. They want to see the white healer for themselves. The name had taken hold after our mating ceremony. During the full moon that followed, when I shifted into wolf form, my coat emerged. Not gray as before, but pure white with markings that resembled ancient healing symbols. The transformation confirmed what many now believed. I carried the spirit of the legendary white healer from Lycan mythology. Do you think they'll be disappointed? I asked, voicing the insecurity that still lingered. To find their mythical white healer is just a fat omega from the northern pack, Kaelin said, spinning me gently in his arms, expression stern. You are many things, my love, brilliant, compassionate, brave. The size of your body is perhaps the least interesting thing about you. His hand caressed my growing belly. I have always preferred my mate exactly as she is, soft and strong at once, he added. I smiled, warmth from our bond flowing through me. The old texts we discovered in your ancestors' vault still echoed in my mind. Do you think they're the key to uniting all the packs? I asked. They're only a beginning, he said, brushing a strand of my pale blonde hair from my face. You are the key, Zaira. Your ability to see beyond old prejudices, to heal ancient wounds. I touched the pendant I still wore. Even if it's unpopular, I said softly. Through research and experimentation, we had discovered it contained rare properties, enhancing my natural healing abilities that finally manifested as Silas had predicted. Kaelin's eyes gleamed with pride and love. The king who once chose the fat one now ruled the most powerful alliance of packs in 3 centuries. Perhaps there's wisdom in following one's instincts rather than others' expectations, he murmured. Below us, the courtyard teemed with representatives from all 3 territories, northern forest and eastern, looking up with expressions, ranging from curiosity to hope. This gathering marked the first step toward a unified Lycan council, stronger together against the threats facing our kind. Ready to change the world? Little healer Kalen asked, offering his hand. I placed my hand in his, feeling our bond pulse with shared purpose. Together, I agreed. Always together. As we descended to meet our future, I reflected on how far we had come from that moment in the Great Hall when a king had defied expectation and declared, "I want the fat one." What had once been shocking now felt inevitable. 2 halves of a whole finding one another across time and tradition. By choosing me, Kalen had found his mate and set in motion changes that would reshape our world. And I, by embracing my true nature instead of hiding from it, had discovered a strength I never knew I possessed. Sometimes the most unexpected choices lead to the most extraordinary destinies. And sometimes being different isn't a flaw. It's exactly what the world needs.